What's going on, you guys? Today we are taking a look at Samurai Team. Now, I've been debating on how to best review these, and I am going to break this up into a three-part review because, quite frankly, a lot of you will watch a 30 to 40 minute review, but I actually want to break this up simply because each one of these figures is significantly different. So, in this review, we are going to be taking a look at the police bot, Kenzan. I gotta admit, I like the Transformers Go packaging. I think the box looks pretty cool. It's your typical Japanese insanity. So let's open them up and take a quick look. So here we have Kenzan in robot mode. Now out of the box, he is just as you see here. This is it. This is the way he comes. He does come with a few accessories. First off, his armor for combined mode that folds up into this double-barreled gun shield thingy. Okay. And then two katanas, and katana is Japanese for sword. Though I do have a major complaint with these guys. Super rubbery plastic that is going to break if I keep flexing them like this. You can store all of these weapons and all of these things in robot mode on his backpack. The swords can easily be stored via these peg holes on the sides of the battery pack, like so. And then you could store his giant, we'll call it his guns, right here on the backpack as well, though this will create incredibly top-heavy Kenzan, though thankfully he does have very large heels. In robot mode, Kenzan has some nice posability. His head is on a ball joint. Shoulders on a swivel, and then a hinge right next to it. A ball joint underneath for the elbow, no hand joints. Legs are a little weird. There is a hinge joint here, or a ratcheting hinge joint for his knee. Then there is a swivel on top of that, another ratcheting hinge joint, another swivel. Yeah, if you take a look at maybe, I don't know, Energon Beachcomber or some of the Energon figures, that's kind of the robot mode we have here. He can, in fact, do major splits, but that's due to the combination gimmick and a little bit of his transformation. He does have this nice groin flap here, which is really an armor piece, but if you fold it up, you can see he's not packing much between his legs. Kenzan has a fantastic head sculpt. I adore this head sculpt, though it is completely out of proportion with the rest of his body. He's got this tiny little head on this giant shouldered frame. He has a posable samurai chonmage, Chonmage, or a samurai, like, ponytail. Completely posable, ball joint. Very, very cool. Kenzan also has lights and sounds. There are 3 AAA batteries stored in this backpack area here. And I did have some issues getting the batteries in. Getting the piece off, or this piece off, wasn't the problem. Though you do have to screw this in very tightly in order for the connections to work. So as you see, I have already turned them on, and we will activate them by pushing his Autobot symbol. Now, there are more sounds to this figure, but for the life of me, I cannot get him to say anything else. Those are the only 2 sounds that he has on my figure. And I don't know if that's just an issue with my figure or an issue overall. A lot of other folks and some other reviewers and other folks on different forums have been able to get him to say several different phrases. Mine won't. I don't know why. Kenzan's transformation is actually pretty simple. To start off with, we'll take the arms, put the arms straight out, turn the fists around, and then bend at these hinges that just above the elbows. We'll do that over here as well. And then the arms will connect to this back battery pack. When we push the head into the body and fold up his chonmage, flip up the battery pack a little bit, like that. And then when we do that, we could turn the arms and just kind of get them situated, and they will actually peg right into the battery pack. And there are peg holes right down here. Sometimes it wants to peg in, sometimes not. And then this whole section will connect to the body. I'm going to turn the battery or the lights and sounds off in case I turn them on again. Take the groin armor, fold that up and then back down into the body. Take the legs, and we will turn the legs so that the wheels are facing in. Take the feet, fold the feet in towards the legs, or towards the wheels, and then flip this body panel around. And then take the windscreen and flip that around. And then rotate the ratchets around and combine them up and connect the fronts. And here we have Kenzan in vehicle mode. Kenzan's vehicle mode is a very futuristic police car. I think it's based off of the Lamborghinis and the Aston Martins and several other European supercars that many police forces are using around the world. It is just an overall nice car, and I wish there was more paint on this thing, but I understand why it's mostly white and blue. In this mode, he does have more lights and sounds, but they are not activated until you flip the switch that I'm failing to do. And the sirens will not stop unless you push the button again. As a figure in and of itself, Kenzan isn't very good. He looks okay head-wise, but the rest of him is just kind of a joke. And his robot mode here really suffers aesthetically from the overall gimmicks of combination. It's just not a very fun figure, and the lights and sounds are just dumb. They're not enjoyable, they're not really anything great, and it's just not a very good figure. Now, in robot mode, you can actually put on his giant cannon thing on his back, and it will attach to some pegs right back here. But again, you run into the problem of, well, it's definitely top heavy, and really the giant gun on his back really doesn't add anything to the figure either. So overall, even though this guy is the most expensive of the three because of the lights and sounds gimmick, he's also my least favorite. For Kenzan's combination sequence, we will start Kenzan and Gano in robot mode. Jinbu will remain in plane mode for now, simply because plane mode is where you want to start off with this guy for this combination. What we're going to have is Gano will form the feet, Jinbu will form the torso, or the, I guess, pelvic region or belly, and Kenzan will form the head and arms. So let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off with Gano, we will take the arms, fold them up into the upper arm, Starting with Gano, we will fold the forearms into the upper arms and peg them into place, thusly. Take the head, spin it around, and fold it back into the body. Take these front flaps, fold them forward like that, and then fold the arms straight back. Then we'll come down to the feet, fold his normal robot feet up with his giant shins, fold them down to form the giant legs. And then, well, that is pretty much it, except for this little part of the fire engine will fold up like that, and we'll leave this little Autobot symbol in place. And the lower part of the body is ready to go. Jinbu's part of the merge sequence is probably the easiest. First, fold up all of the rear wings, then take the sections that are actually his robot feet and fold them up. Take the entire back section and unpeg them from the plane body, and just kind of fold them back like that. My mistake, you want to actually reverse the way you folded these tail wings up, like that. Then take the legs and flip them 180 degrees and bend them up thusly. And they should peg into Jinbu itself in the back of his legs. Now, they really don't, and that is because something we will talk about with his review. That's because these sections of the legs have been assembled incorrectly. These can be fixed, but we'll talk about that when we review Jinbu in the next video. So, he's ready to go. Kenzan's transformation is very similar to his transformation into vehicle mode. First, take the arms and do the fold up thing that we did before, bending them at that extra hinge. And we'll do that similarly to the way we do it for his transformation. And then turn the arms so that the top of them, or the bottom of the forearms, are pointing forward. And then when we do that, we will fold them up towards his head like they would for his normal transformation, and then flip them back along that hinge, and they will peg into the same spot they pegged into for his normal transformation. Now, for his legs, we're going to take the section here and fold that up like we do for the normal transformation, and then split out his legs like that to form the shoulders of his combined mode. And then fold them down at the ratchet, flip them around, and take this section and fold it completely out. Same thing on this side. And then there are these sections here, which are supposed to be closed in robot mode, but I leave them open in robot mode. You're supposed to flip them closed. And the reason I leave them open in robot mode is it just makes the transformation in robot mode easier. Then we will flip these sections around and fold out the giant robot hands. And then rotate them closed. So turn this around, flip out the giant robot hand, and then fold that up. And this blue section is supposed to peg snugly into this peg here, but it really doesn't. So you're just going to have to play with it. And there we go. Anybody remember Transformers Energon? 1, 2. Fold the wings down. Fold the nose cone down. And then line up and drop Kenzan into place. And he will connect to that gray connector there and those two pegs. And then what is supposed to happen here on the back is these legs are supposed to fold up and peg into the arms, but they don't really do it because of that issue I talked about earlier. So you kind of have to unpeg it, and it's kind of peg and pray, really. And if you try and futz with it too much, pieces are going to come undone, and just badness will happen. The last bit is the, well, Kabuto gun. Now, a Kabuto is, one, a beetle, but it is also a piece of armor, or a helmet to go with a piece of armor. And just unfolding it like that, I like to leave this bit out a little bit, or this front piece out a little bit, so you could drop it right onto his head, and then this bit will fold up into the rest of the body. And in all honesty, it's a little bit tricky to get it on, because things just do not want to go in place on this guy. He is probably, oh, that's why. There is a double hinge right here, and getting that hinge to bend correctly is kind of hard, honestly. So here we have GoKenzan. GoKenzan is the primary combined mode that is shown in Transformers Go. And I have to be honest, this thing looks terrible. The proportions are all wrong. The amount of back kibble is redonkulous. And he's just horrifically balanced. He does have the lights and sounds gimmick, but if you forget to turn on the lights and sounds gimmick, like I did, it is not a trifle matter. Okay, yeah, whatever. Kenzan, Shobu, yeah. So he does have lights and sounds. Whatever. Yeah, the lights and sounds gimmick, not that great. I do like the paint. Now, the paint I'm talking about is specifically on the Kabuto. The paint here on the shoulders, the really cool samurai-esque Autobot symbols, the gold plate here, the Gundam-esque crest and antennae, and the face. Very, very cool. Doesn't fit at all with the rest of the figure, but very, very cool. This combined mode does have posability, so we've got ratchets in the shoulders, ratchets in the elbow. You've got twisting here at the hand. His hand can open and close, though it's very oddly proportioned. And his legs ratchet and knees ratchet. But good luck trying to really get him to pose, because you could get a couple of poses, but as soon as he loses stability, forget it. Now, his weapons are a combination of, well, Gano and Jinbu's weapons. So what we start off with is Gano's weapon slides into the hole up here, and then Jinbu's weapon, this little peg, slides into the bottom of the double lance thingy we've got going on here. So that pegs in. And then the other two kabutos do merge together to form the most impractical shield I have ever seen. This is supposed to be a shield, I think, but it doesn't really work and is a little bit too heavy for the figure to hold. Though I do like this weapon, but as you've already can tell, super floppy plastic. Should not bend like that. GoKenzan can wield the swords in this mode, though it looks like he's attacking somebody with a pair of fairly big toothpicks. I don't care for that. Technically, you can combine the swords onto the giant pole lance thing, but it doesn't really work all that well. And I'm looking at the directions right now, and there is nothing official that says you're supposed to be able to do this, which kind of sucks, because it would be much better for all of them to officially combine. But again, there's nothing in the directions that says they're supposed to do that. Now, removing Jinbu from the picture, I think actually works a bit better. Now, there's nothing actually connecting these two guys together. It's just me putting Kenzan on top of Gano. But I think that works a little better, though it's still really out of proportion. One could even go so far as taking Gano out of the equation and just using Jinbu as the legs. Again, proportions are horribly out of sync with each other, but this also works. The one thing you do need to be greatly aware of is these feet. Yeah, they're really loose. I mean, really loose. They snap in, but you're gonna fall and tip over very easily on this one. Another fix that I have found for GoKenzan is with Gogano is unpeg the back part, and that will allow him to fold up his hips a little bit, changing the center of gravity on his hips so that he has some more stability. Yeah, the legs are going to flop around a little bit more, but it does add some much needed stability to the figure. What we have with Kenzan is a figure that has been designed to do 3 different things. And those different things are all done rather poorly. If I had to pick a best mode, it's the vehicle mode. That vehicle mode is at least consistent and, I don't want to say good, but it's the best of all of his modes. And that really is a bummer. I will be completely honest, I was really worried that this set was not going to be very good, and so far Kenzan is proving my fears right, and that makes me sad. I mean, that really does make me legitimately sad, because I think that if they had removed the lights and sounds, a lot of toys and a lot of Transformers don't need lights and sounds. They just don't. And considering how much more this guy was or is than the other 3, I don't think it's worth it. And then you add the batteries, and that makes just the overall figure incredibly heavy. Now, the reason I'm turning him back into vehicle mode is because I wanted to show you guys his ability to store the weapons in this mode. And that is, well, I appreciate that. The swords go on the bottom of the vehicle, and then the Kabuto gun turret thingy goes on the top. And see, I just did it there. This internal flap, I always forget about it. So here you can see the swords are stored in vehicle mode pretty easily on the bottom. They do have a tendency to fall off rather quickly, so be wary of that. And then here's where you store the Kabuto. Yes, that does look ridiculous. So overall, guys, I really can't recommend this figure. Now, in order to do the combinations correctly, you need all three of them, but Kenzan is by far the weakest, and his merged form of GoKenzan is supposedly the skill form. So, the one with the most skill, I guess. So, as I said, guys, yeah, I really can't recommend this figure, and the swords are falling off already. Vehicle mode, definitely the best mode. The other two modes, not so hot. And the lights and sounds and electronics gimmick are just a disappointment. Yeah, sorry to say, but I'd pass on this.